Alright, guys, I've watched this thing 3 times. I've taken pages of notes. Let's talk about episode 1.
Nope.
Alright, so first off, I just want to say this is probably one of the best first episodes of almost any TV show that I've come across. It was incredible. Anything you were looking for in the show um, was satisfied, in my personal opinion. And if the book is anything like it, I'm going to love this thing. With that, let's, I guess, start from the beginning. I thought it was really interesting that they immediately brought up the this magic madness situation with, I guess, males who are born with the ability to use magic, um, as well as these like magic manhunters is the best like way that I can put it. Um, but it brought up an interesting question in why Moraine was so insistent that this was not the guy. My personal thought, and of course it could be wrong, it could be right, is that um, should the dragon be a male, he would not be so succumb to this madness so quickly, at least, if not at all. Um, Maybe that's not the case, but we'll see. Then we moved on, like literally, like from there, panned up into these mountains, and it literally looked like old ruins or something of those kinds. Maybe that's just how the hills or the mountains are. Maybe it was formed by the cataclysm um, many years ago, or maybe it was an ancient city that has now just kind of fossiled over basically and formed mountains. I'm not sure, but it was beautiful. And then moving straight from there, we had Nanine throwing Egwene off a freaking cliff in some apparent coming of age ceremony, um, which was like wildly terrifying and kind of strangely surreal at the same time. Then, after a small intro to Rand and his father, where they talk a little bit about Rand's mother that we haven't seen too much about, but we'll get to that later. Um, we move into the bar scene where we actually meet Rand, Matt, and Perrin, which of the three, personally, Matt seems to be my favorite so far. Um, he seems to be a quite literally a lovable little shit. Um, but between his family life that we find out about a little later and what he seemingly has to go through to take care of his two younger sisters, it seems like. It's going to be interesting to see him grow throughout the series. Speaking of the bar scene, that's also where we find out a little bit more about the world at large, where we hear about a war going on in Geldon, which I'm guessing is going to be like more the big war. Shortly after that, we have one of my favorite scenes in the episode, and that is Lan walking in like the Grim Reaper, completely terrifying everyone in there. Um, and honestly, them finding out that Moraine is an Aes Sedai didn't help the situation. It was a delightfully terrifying scene, and I loved it. But it kind of does seem like maybe the common folk fear, um, whether it be common folk in general or um, like this town per se, um, seem to fear uh, the Aes Sedai for some reason or another. Um, and then we find out that Nanine just seems to flat out hate them due to the previous wisdom's past relationship with that whole group. Um, or I guess less of a relationship and more of a rejection, I guess. And then after the funny Barry love scene that we got with Rand and Egwin, we get a scene with Moraine and Lan in what seems to be a hot tub or maybe just a bath in general. We get a fun practical use of magic in this world with her just kind of heating up the hot tub or the bath. And come the end of that scene is probably one of my favorite editing tricks. Um, and the way that they did it in this show was amazing to me because it had like kind of two vantage points almost immediately. And that was when Len asks Moraine which of the four or which of the town members she thinks could be the dragon reborn. It immediately cuts to Egwene, and then almost immediately after that pans up to Rand. And I thought that was the coolest thing to like kind of make the viewer immediately think her and then question themselves. But that moves into Egwene telling Rand um, about Nanine asking her to become the next Wisdom, which he takes like a high school child and tries to manipulate her on top of a mountain to not do it. But that's neither here nor there. But before we get to the mountain, obviously, um, it it has another like interesting editing trick that makes me wonder, especially since she just was talking about becoming the wisdom and hearing the wind and there being this connection to maybe the ability to for her to use magic. It kind of seemed like she was able to sense the eyeless kind of coming into town in the next scene. So maybe she has an ability to sense the darkness. But then we get an introduction to so far my absolute favorite character in this episode. At least we'll see about the whole series. I don't know how much we're gonna see him. But Paddon Fane is the best. He's a tricksy little one. Um, but one scene specifically, and you guys know what I'm talking about. When he just nopes out of there. Town's being attacked. There's no money to be made here. I'm out. It was hilarious. It was the best scene of the whole thing. Just the entire town's being attacked. I'm freaking out, and this guy just turns and walks away, and it was awesome. It was the best. Um, but he gets introduced, and he seems to be either a traveling salesman or just an in general trinket shop owner. Um, but he's definitely my favorite character so far. Um, but of the main four so far, I have to give it to Matt. Then we have Moraine kind of confronting Nanine about her past, that she was picked up and raised by the previous wisdom, um, but there's no like real records of when she was born or anything like that. So she, I'm unsure if Moraine thinks that she's a potential candidate. I feel like she's one of the group, and especially since, and any if you haven't seen it, you've all read the book way more than I have, but I'm working on it. But if we didn't see a body, I don't think she's dead. It honestly looked like the Trolloc like took her off and ran off like with her. So, and Moraine did say that they were after them, so I feel like they're not just gonna kill the dragon. They want to capture him and turn him and use that power for themselves. So that seems like what they're probably trying to do, and hoping that they got the right one. And then after a weird yin yang dead sheep thing, we moved into the ceremony of the dead with Rand's father's kind of reincarnation speech. Then everyone lit lanterns and the party began. Although we didn't get to see much of it before Tom died. One of the less brutal deaths within this whole Trolloc attack, I'd have to say that was an epic, what would you call it, raid scene. And from there, we moved into Rand and his father's place up in the mountain, and obviously they are getting attacked. And that's where we find out that Rand's father seemingly used to be an Aes Sedai protector, or at least he has the same sword as Lan. Whether that means that he once protected an Aes Sedai or not, I guess remains to be seen personally, but I'm going to assume that that's probably what that means. Seems to be some of the few people with those swords. And they really, really like zoomed in on what looked to be a crane, I think. But then after that, we got one of like these guys did not skimp on the special effects for this fight, but Moraine's magic was freaking incredible. Like, I couldn't have imagined a better way for everything to flow. The choreography between Moraine and Lan was beautiful. There's honestly not many shows or even movies out there that do like a good clash between or a good combination of martial and magic when it comes to like side by side fights. And this was an amazing thing to see. Whenever they would pan kind of overhead shots, you would literally see like the magic swirling around her just standing in the middle, and this guy just taking things out, just kind of running around her in a circle. And it was the coolest, like, side by side fight in the world. I loved it. And then we had an interesting scene shortly before her just completely taking out a building to take out an army, um, which was epic in and of itself. But we had the lightning scene where she seemed to focus on the fact that she caught the tree on fire. And I believe that that's probably like a you don't do harm to good, or you don't do harm to the innocent kind of deal. Um, and maybe not, but it kind of seemed like she had, you know, obviously everyone seems to have a connection with nature, but it seemed like she had gotten upset that she hadn't had full control of that lightning strike and caught it, or the fact that she caught it in general. Amongst all of that, we had another one of the really good Matt moments where he walks in and just loses it on his parents because they just didn't seem to care about grabbing the kids. Like, these are the worst parents in the world. Sorry, just gotta say it. Um, but then we had the fight in the blacksmith with Perrin and Layla, and that entire thing was super epic. Um, between that and between those two fighting, specifically Layla just completely taking out one with what seemed to be a freaking hammer. And the group of old ladies that took out the the Trolloc by themselves, was both of those are just epic. Um, but them two fighting together was really cool right up until the end. And I've got to tell you, that caught me 100% by surprise. Um, that, jeez. Like, I already had questions about their relationship and um, some specific body language that made me have a few specific questions about their past. Um, but I don't know if that's going to get answered now. But we'll see. I'd love. It'd be interesting to see if he gains a connection with this source of magic and goes through the madness. And like that guy in the beginning of the episode, seemed to hallucinate a friend of his from before. Maybe he hallucinates her. After all that, we have basically them just wrapping up and heading out on their adventure. Which everyone, honestly, everyone kind of makes sense to take off. Um, Egwene just came of age, lost her kind of calling with Nynaeve. Rand would just follow Egwene to the end of the world, you know. Perrin just lost everything and definitely doesn't want to face the town with what happened in that room. Um, But personally, I feel like, and I'm kind of surprised we didn't get a scene of Matt just flat out not wanting to go, not wanting to leave the girls in their care, in his parents' care. Um, and it would have made complete sense. It would have made the episode longer, and I understand that. But canonically, it would have made sense, or personally, it would have made sense for him to kind of feel like he shouldn't go or can't go. But like I said overall in the beginning, this was quite literally one of the best first episodes of any series that I have come across in a while. I hope it keeps up with the next couple episodes. I've only watched the first one. Um, with that, I do plan to be kicking things into overdrive, and hopefully we'll be able to get out another episode, episode 2, on Sunday. But we will see. It all kind of, everything with this schedule is new to me. This whole kind of series and how to make these videos is kind of new to me. Um, so I'm learning. I love to learn from you guys. So if you have any critiques, anything that'll help, shoot it down in the comments below. If you'd rather see a video of the next 2 episodes kind of grouped together into one, let me know, and I will try my hardest to get that done as well. Maybe watching both of them together and being able to talk about it. It'll definitely be a longer video. After that, obviously, it'd be weekly, um, with each episode, but let's try to get it out from here on within that like next 24 to 48 hours after the episode drops. That way I can get it to you guys sooner and obviously feed the algorithm god. But that's kind of all I got for you today. Um, I enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.